Okay, good morning. Just wanted to mention or say that over the last couple of weeks, my discussion, the little note that I've been doing in the morning before I do my reading, has often been about addiction or alcoholism or recovery from that. And again, for a number of months, I've been talking mostly about awakening or consciousness, and just decided to focus in on on this particular situation of addiction and recovery, and because it's really my wheelhouse. It's something I know a lot about, and I've been working with addicts and alcoholics for a whole bunch of years. Like, I've been in recovery myself for like 40, and it's interesting because what do we gauge recovery by? What do we say? What's recovery? I'm going to tell you my experience a bit that you know it seems like uh, emotionally that most addicts and alcoholics stop developing emotionally at about 13 or 14. And so often, if you have an addict or an alcoholic in your family, you'll relate to this. We're in a 35-year-old body and still, stamping our feet or punching walls and trying to get our way, still manipulating, still, living um, what I would call, hi, Barb, but, dishonestly. But how does that happen? We're, what is it that stops our emotional development? And then when we do stop drinking or using, you know, how, what's the process of moving forward? And that's what I want to talk about. Now, there's hope for the alcoholic, the addict, and we call alcoholism or addiction a mental illness. Not just me. I mean, that's accepted by you know the medical associations, and it's a tough one. It's a tough one. So the best that I can describe it, what it seemed like for me, is that somehow, as a youth, as a kid, for me, I was in a lot of pain, and emotional pain, fear, and when I discovered booze, alcohol, for me, it was like, wow, I had found the answer to my problems. The the it was like I lived in a naked in freshly cut hayfield, because I was it was prickly all the time. It was all, I was always in stress. And I remember as a kid being, having this feeling in my stomach all the time of fear. And I think that most addicts and alcoholics can relate to that. And so uh, when I started to use or drink, it went away. And so that was the first thing. And so you think, well, that was just what I could have done something differently. Why would I have? I was like 13, and that was the answer to my problems. And all I could think about was having more of that. And so I didn't sit back and say, well, no, I shouldn't be doing this. I should be uh, um, focusing on my career or focusing on my education. No, I had been living in pain. So the alcoholic or the addict does seem to uh, stop maturing at often at 13 or 14. So we don't know, we don't have the skills of an adult in as we move into adulthood. We don't have the skills of maturity skills of an adult, and so it becomes even more difficult. So we learn, though, the path. So we mimic the path. We say, well, okay, I've got to get an education, and I've got to, get into the world. And in my case, I didn't do that. I didn't mimic the path. I thought, in an immature way, I thought, it's likely that I'm not going to live past. I didn't think I'd live past 18 or 21 or 25, so I wasn't preparing for life. But then, circumstances had it. God had another plan for me, and I sobered up at 25. Um, but what happened at 25, and this is the part that so many don't get past, is my coping mechanism for my emotional state was my drugs and alcohol. And all of a sudden, I didn't have that. And so when you're alcoholic or addict in his early days of recovery, you know, you stop drinking and you have hope. You're thinking, "Gosh, that's great," and uh, it's a tough road in the early days. We're just full of raw emotion, often full of raw emotion and crazy thinking, and so it's not just you, it's hard to explain to those of you who are not addict or alcoholic. You're like, well, why doesn't he just stop? Well, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. So here we are, full of raw emotion. We've sobered up. We're in our first, any time in the first 5 years can be like horrendously difficult. We're struggling with a mental illness that can only be fixed by the efforts of, our own efforts in a way. You know, yes, we say and that we have a spiritual experience, and that spiritual experience carries us. You know, but it's a combination of a ton of things. Yes, the alcoholic and the addict, if he gets recovery in the 12-step world, has to begin to pray. To a higher power he doesn't understand or he's totally confused about. Is it outside of me? Is it inside of me? What is it? What are they talking about? Maybe he's had an overdose of religion and he doesn't want to have anything to do with that. And so it's tough, and we're often angry at ourselves and full of self-hate. It's the road to recovery is tough, and that's why often long-term treatment centers seem to work, because we get to be in the care, in kind of in a bubble for a while, to go through this process and and mix it up with each other. When I love the when I was working at Fresh Start, that was the men were able to make mistakes with each other and sometimes rub shoulders pretty roughly in a way with each other, because that's life, but it's in a safe place where they can deal with life, and because the world can be rough out there. And so anyway, it's the long-term prognosis for the whole idea of the disease, unless we gain understanding as a society, and that's where I hope to shine the light. That's what the purpose of this page has become, is to shine the light of awareness. I want to talk to addicts in recovery, and I'm going to talk to addicts in recovery and family about their addicts, with this message. So if you'd like to, if you want to talk to me, if you want, let's do an interview. If you're an addict in recovery, and you want to talk about the early days, you want to talk about what it looks like now, you know, I'm interested in those discussions. So, and if you're a family, and if an addict in recovery or an alcoholic in recovery, I want to talk to you. Let's really try to break this thing open a little bit. And you know, I want there's a huge vision. I mean, this is an endless uh, you know pot we could to look at and to talk about. And um, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he lives in a community in where there's been a proposed aftercare apartment being built, so that people can move out of treatment into more of a long-term apartment living, a safe apartment living, and in recovery. And his community is scared, and so I mean they're scared because they don't understand, and it's hard to explain. They're like, yes, we want to help addicts and alcoholics, but we don't want them in our neighborhood. Mm. And that's I get that. That's just it's misunderstanding, you know. And actually, you do want them in your neighborhood, you know, because an addict or an alcoholic who's in recovery is an amazing person, you know, and you know they're growing, they're developing, they're you know becoming members of society, and so yeah, you do want them in your neighborhood. But anyway, that's a whole other subject. That's the path, and the other thing, I've been sharing my videos on I put them on YouTube after this every day, and then I've been sharing the YouTube videos on groups and Facebook that cut me off. I guess I put them on some groups I shouldn't have. I don't know, but they cut me off. So if you'd like to share this, that would be really thank you. You know, share it on a group that you're in. Share this, but share the YouTube version, which I'll have up in a little while, or any of my YouTube videos if you share them. I'm trying to kind of grow that as well, and so we can, um, yeah, get exposed to more and more people. So we're going to read from our little book today. Did I say I'm trying to? I don't know. It's happening. I'm not trying to do anything. It just is happening, and um, I have to stay out of the way. Look, it's the 14th of March. The 14th of March. We're going to read from their little daily reading book. This is a 24-hour day book written by a fellow in published in 1954, and it talks about recovery. It's an amazing little book. It's been kind of a mainstay in the 12-step recovery world for a long, long time. The question, it says, thought for the day: can I get well? If I mean, can I ever drink normally again? The answer is no. Lots of people come to the 12-step world thinking that they're going to learn to drink, and for all of us in recovery recognize that we can never go back to drinking. Total abstinence is the only way for the real alcoholic. And but if I mean, can I stay sober? The answer is definitely yes. I can get well by turning my drink problem over to a power greater than myself, that divine principle in the universe, which we call God. And this is a lot of the work that I do one-on-one, is helping people with their concept of a higher power. And it's there's a lot of prejudice towards the word God, but in this case, he called God a principle, that divine principle in the universe. There are so many ways to look at this and to access it. And by asking, it says, and by asking that power each morning to give me the strength to stay sober for the next 24 hours, I know from the experience of thousands of people that if I honestly want to get well, I can get well. Am I faithfully following the AA program, the 12-step program? It's the question. So it says, if we honestly want to, and yet the numbers are really, really poor. They're really poor. For the chronic alcoholic or addict, the prognosis is not good. And so how do we help change that? A lot of it, I think, through public opinion can help that change. That we can help the alcoholic, the addict heal, through love and awareness. And there's such a stigma on the disease, and which compounds the problem. The addict and the alcoholic, long before he realized he was an addict or alcoholic, already did not like himself, was not happy with himself. And now we've added on to another thing, and holy shit, I am such a loser because I'm an addict or an alcoholic. Well, addicts and alcoholics are not losers. They're people with a disease. And we can see that as a society, and take the stigma off it, and recognize that, go down to your local treatment center and say, hi, welcome back. We're here for you. Welcome back. They've been off, when they're using, when we're out there using and drinking, we're in another world. And to share the love. And, yeah. Okay. Meditation for the day. Persevere in all that that God's guidance moves you to do. Meditation for the day. Persevere in all that God's guidance moves you to do. Thank you. The persistent carrying out of what seems right and good will bring you to that place where you would be. If you look back over God's guidance, you'll see that his leading has been gradual, and that only as you have carried out his wishes, so far as you can understand them, has God been able to give you more clear and definite leading. Man is led by God's touch on a quickened, responsive mind. Wow. And that's a good reading for me today, because doing this, sometimes I'm like, holy shit, what am I doing? But I'm just really, trying to follow the lead of, the divine spirit within me. This is not about me. This is feels like a mission, and I'm just saying yes. Um, and it feels very vulnerable sometimes. It's like, holy shit, what am I doing? Prayer for the day. I pray that I may persevere in doing what seems right. I pray that I may carry out all of God's leading as far as I can understand it, as far as I can believe it and understand it. That's beautiful. Um, so one of the things that I've been doing every morning when I do this reading is a quick meditation. Just a quick meditation. So that's it. We're going to do like a 3 to 5 minute. And the reason I do this with you guys is that so many people over the last 10 years that I've been involved with teaching meditation. Maybe it's not been that long, but I've been focused on meditation. Many addicts and alcoholics, and people say, look, I can't meditate, my mind is too busy. Well, whoever said that meditation had anything to do with a quiet mind, right? It would be nice to get there, but that's not. If we were there, we wouldn't need to meditate. Meditation is, I call it sitting. We just drop in. Let's let go even of the word meditation. We just stop for a couple of minutes, So that's all we're going to do today, very short. We're going to stop for a few minutes and just drop in. Okay, join me and find a comfortable spot. It doesn't, no big deal. Wherever you're sitting is fine, as long as you're safe. And just close your eyes. Every spiritual teaching tells us that if we're going to connect with this higher power, this divinity, this God, it's going to be within. So we have to go within. And to go within, we need to stop for a moment. We need to pause. We need to abide in this space. So let's do that together. Just drop into your body. Be here now. So just for a minute, bring your awareness into your body through your breath. And just bring, one way to come into the moment is to bring our attention into our physical body for a second. So if you bring your attention just for a minute to your feet, and then your legs, calves, knees, thighs, just feel your attention coming into this space. Hips, to your lower back, to your shoulders, into your middle back, into your chest, to your belly. Just breathe and be here now, to this quiet stillness, this quiet emptiness. We don't have to imagine anything. We're going to just let go of our past, our future. There is no next. nowhere to get to. If thought comes up, just let it go. Just gently let it go. Come back to your breath. Remember, we're not our thoughts. We're not our body. Okay, thank you. You're meditating, you'd like to stay in that space, just stay there. Thanks for joining me this morning. Just go out and hug an alcoholic and an addict today. Tell them you're glad they're back. Anybody in recovery, even if they're not in recovery. Okay? I'd love it if you'd share this or follow me on YouTube. We're going to grow that page and, tell the truth about the disease. Thank you. Love you, love you, love you.